So now that you understand the power of adding thinQ to Twilio, I know everyone wants to hear now from Matt, our technical sales engineer. And Matt, we're starting today with the quickest and easiest way to integrate thinQ into Twilio, right? And that's with hard coding?
Yes, that's absolutely right. The easiest option is going through this hard coding. Essentially, this option is perfect for those who are already using Twilio. They don't want to make any major changes to their existing application, existing code. They don't want to add any extra libraries or softwares to their system, any add-ons or anything like that. All they can do is just make a simple text change within their code, one little piece, and that's it. And you're able to fully utilize the saving money and having more control of the routing. As I mentioned, this thing simply is done by changing a simple piece of parameter within the Twilio, essentially within where you are making the outbound call. All you need to do is change the to number. Essentially, that is it. Instead of having a standard PSTN phone call, you are going to be changing this out to a SIP call, and we can show you that in the next couple slides. All right, so for this particular page, I know it's going to look like a lot of Greek to some people, but I will try and break it down. On the left-hand side, what this is going to be is this is actually utilizing Twilio's SDK. This is an example straight from their SDK. And what that is doing is that is making a standard phone call. The portion that is circled on the left-hand side is the to number that is calling, that you would be calling to. And on the right-hand side is what you would end up changing in order to utilize thinQ's least cost routing solution. As you can see, it's just a simple line. You're changing it from a standard phone number to a SIP number. You're adding in your thinQ ID and your thinQ token, and that's it. So let's say you have, this is just using Twilio's SDK, but let's say you have your own application that you've built out. You've been running your environment for years, well-oiled machine, you don't want to make a ton of changes. This is the same thing that would happen there. However you're making the phone call, the to number, all you would need to do is to change the format of that to be a SIP call to include our domain, the ID, and token, and then you will take care of the rest. Well, what about those customers who spend a lot of time inside Twilio's console, building out their entire call flow to the point where it's fully automated and they don't even need their own application? We have an option for that as well. If you're using Twilio's markup language, which is also known as TWIML, our hard coding solution can be utilized there as well. So you can see here on this particular page, this is a sample of what the TWIML response would look like. Instead, all you're doing is a dial to a SIP address, and then the coding in there, that E164 and the 2, that's actually part of Twilio's coding itself. So what that's doing is taking the to number of however you're making the dial to the number, and then it's putting it in an E164 format that Twilio requires, and then all you're doing is just adding in the extra piece, and then you're good to go. Well, what about WebRTC? Well, we have a solution for that as well. This screenshot is actually taken from Twilio's client that I had built out following Twilio's quick start guide on setting up the WebRTC solution. I'll zoom into the code a little bit further so you can see it better, but you'll be able to see the commented section out of the quote-unquote stock code that was generated when I went through this quick start guide. And that is actually, as I said with the previous one, it's basically just calling a standard number, and then I will actually show you the piece where we changed it to dial a SIP number instead, utilizing thinQ. So at the top, we have the green commented out section. That was the original piece. Down below in the black and white is essentially what that's doing is that's doing the exact same thing, except it's dialing a SIP number in the phone that was dialed in within WebRTC. And again, you can see the thinQ ID and thinQ token. So we've given you a handful of scenarios and options in terms of how you can integrate thinQ's least cost routing solution into the Twilio environment. These next few slides will show you the price breakdown between a normal Twilio call. In this particular case, I used the WebRTC solution that I just showed you, and a call that was routed through thinQ. The screenshot was taken from Twilio's call logs that you're able to export from their console client. The first two rows are a single WebRTC call using Twilio's network only to reach my desk phone. Twilio charges a 0.004 service fee, basically for that inbound request. And then they're charging 0.013 for the actual phone call itself from the Twilio number to my desk number. In the screenshot, you'll see that this particular call was only 31 seconds long in total. However, they did charge me the full minute for that call. The second set of rows are what it would look like if you were to route a call through thinQ instead. You can see that we're still being charged the initial 0.004 for the inbound request, and then you're also being charged a 0.004 for an outbound SIP call, which is a standard thing that Twilio charges. You'll also notice that this call was essentially the exact same length of time. Next, on the next slide, I'll show you what thinQ is charging for that overall call. This is a log from thinQ's portal. You can see the same details essentially, but the most important thing is that this was a 36-second call, and that's all we're being charged, and that total charge is 0.003001 for that call. So let's go back to Twilio's logs for a second so you can see the total cost for both of these calls. As you can see in the screenshot, I've added thinQ's charge to the second call, and we are only charging 0.011 for that particular call compared to Twilio's 0.017, which results in a 35% total savings.
All right, Matt, that's fantastic. We love all those examples and seeing it in action. And again, we find that most of our clients who have turned thinQ on within their Twilio clients are seeing, again, anywhere from a 30 to a 50% savings. And it's my understanding a lot of that is geared to not only the quantity of calls, but the geographic sort of dispersion of the calls, which obviously lends itself to using a least cost routing platform like thinQ. So the more broadly distributed, then the higher the volume of calls, the higher your savings will be when you turn on thinQ within Twilio.